Hello and welcome to the Low Limit Poker Challenge. I have my buddy Ray back with me.
What's up, guys?
And we have started a brand new challenge. We're just calling it the new challenge because we're striving to play 5-10 no limit when we're at Twin River and 5-10 PLO when we're at Foxwoods, but we will play different games. So if you want to talk about the PLO yesterday, and then I'll talk about the Hold'em today.
Sure. So, yeah, I took a little hiatus away from poker for a while. As you guys remember, the 1-2 challenge did not work out well for me. He kicked my butt by well over $4,000.
$5,000. It was a little over, a speck over 5,000.
I didn't even look at the final numbers. I was so miserable. So I took a little break, and then we decided that luckily the money wasn't a ton because I only ended up down probably a few $100 for the whole tournament. For the whole challenge, which is bad. But
it sucks because the time invested that you
invested, yeah, because we played probably almost 100 hours.
Yeah.
But now we're playing higher stakes, which is definitely like mid stakes. We're not playing 1-2 anymore.
Oh, actually, let me make a comment about the charts that I was looking at the other day. I like to play with the numbers and analyze the data. So even though I did very well in the challenge, I noticed that my first session I was up $1,000, which got me a really, really good hourly average. Anytime you make $1,000 in one day, and you're only averaging for one day. So then after session 6, I was up $2,100. But then I was noticing after session 14, I was also up $2,100. So I actually had an 8-day stretch in the middle, which in real time lasted about 12 or 13 days. And during that time, I actually made $0 over those 8 sessions. So even though it looks like I did very, very incredible for the whole 1-2 no limit challenge, the first 30 hours I made about $2,100. The next 30 hours I made about 0. And the final 38, I think it was 31 hours, I made about 2,300. So poker is a very, very streaky thing. So, even though Ray lost in the challenge, a 90-hour sample size is still a very, very small sample size. So if I very easily could have had sessions like that middle 30 hours where I made nothing 3 times in a row. And I very easily could have made nothing. But luckily, I did well. And luckily, Ray's doing better in the PLO game. So
So our new challenge, we are going to play PLO at Foxwoods as often as possible. The problem is it's an hour away, so probably like once a week. And then when we're at Twin River, we're going to try to play 5-10 no limit as much as possible. And we will have to play some 2-5 while we wait. So all that is going to be included in the new challenge. So it's kind of like a mid-stakes challenge.
Yep.
So yesterday went to Foxwoods, and there was a list for the 2-5 PLO. And so we played 1-2 PLO for a while, which is a game that almost never runs. Very rarely do you ever see that game.
It probably does run more now. We just don't see it because we don't go there that often.
Yeah, it was Monday Madness, so they had about 85 tables open at Foxwoods, which is a ton of players. So they did have the 1-2. So getting back into PLO, I haven't played PLO in probably a couple of months. It's like riding a bike. It seems...
Yeah, that was a very, very easy table. Some people barely knew the rules.
Yeah, some people didn't know the rules. They didn't know how the pot was added up. They didn't understand that, somebody raised the 10 and they wanted to go pot and it would be like $30-something. They didn't understand how it got to $30.
So considering the players were very, very, very bad, how do you think Ray did on that table?
So on that table, I didn't do so well.
They kicked your ass.
I think I left that table probably down about $150 or so.
Yeah.
Probably was there for about an hour or two.
And I was up, I think I was up almost exactly $300 on that table, maybe like 310 or something. But then we both moved to the 2-5 PLO when seats opened up. Our other buddy Tom, he stayed at the 1-2 table.
And like 2-5 PLO plays big. It plays way bigger than 2-5 no limit.
And what'd you buy in for?
I bought into the 2-5 for probably just under 400, I believe. The buy-in is anywhere from 200 to 1,000.
Yep.
I just brought the chips that I had and added a couple $100 bills, so I think I had about 400 when I went over. Now for me, one thing that I'm really going to concentrate on in the future is when I do have to play lower limit games, although I know I'm a better player than most of the players at the table, I think sometimes I play hands I shouldn't just because I know I can outplay them post-flop, and it doesn't end up working out for whatever reason. So I'm going to take my higher limit strategy and play the same way on the lower limits, just because it doesn't work out when I try to play 40-50% of the hands on the lower limits.
And that's one thing that I was talking to him off camera. It seems like I always thought of him as the type of guy that's very disciplined and has a lot of concentration, but he actually has a better win percentage in the higher limit games, in 5-10 no limit. So I actually told him he's not allowed to play 1-2 anymore. In 5-10 no limit, he is not only doing better in dollars per hour, but he's doing better in big blinds per hour. So there's really no reason for him to even play 1-2. Theoretically, you would think it'd be different because they are very, very bad players. But so we ended up playing 5-10. No, oh, actually, wait, we're still in the PLO day.
Yeah.
So you started with 400. How'd you do on the table?
All right, so I actually did pretty well. We ended up playing a pretty long session.
We were there to 4:30 in the morning.
Yeah, so I think we played about 10 hours total, probably 2 on the 1-2 and 8 on the 2-5. 2-5 definitely has some juicy players. Everybody thinks, because it's called Pot Limit Omaha, you have to bet the pot every time it's your turn to bet. And that's not always the case. Like, sometimes you're looking to get value from people who really have not much of anything, and you can bet $30 into a $60 pot just to get some people to give you call with hands they absolutely shouldn't be calling, because it looks like, oh, I have so many outs, but they really don't. Even though it seems like you can play any hand pre-flop, you really can't. You still have to be disciplined in PLO.
So how tight are you in PLO versus Hold'em? Like when you play 2-5 PLO or 5-10 Hold'em?
I would say it really depends on the table itself, but in a PLO game, I would like to play at least between 20 to 30% of the hands. Yep. Usually you get to sneak in with one of your blinds, and usually you're probably raising 1 or 2 hands per round. And on 5-10 PLO, I'm probably about the same, between 20 and 25% hands being played. Where on 1-2, I was probably playing 50-60% of the hands, just because I thought I could just outplay everybody afterwards. And that's really the reason why I didn't do so well. It's like you're trying to win big pots, trying to get the crazy guy just to double you up in 1-2, and it's just not the right way to play. The right way to play.
Forward thinking. We're moving on.
The right way to play is.
It's in the past.
Yeah, the right way to play is.
The right way to play is focus on the 5-10.
Just consistent. The way when you're winning at a game, just be consistent at all games.
So he did win on PLO. What's the final number?
So on PLO, I ended up winning $111.
Yeah, that's right, 111.
It was 111. So probably ended up winning about I'm gonna say around 350 or so on the 2-5 game over 8 hours, because I was down probably 150, 175 on the 1-2 game.
Okay.
So pretty good hourly rate for the day, about $40 an hour overall. Even though the 1-2 definitely started me on the downside.
Yeah, he's on the negative for 1-2 again. So in the PLO game, I ended up being in for $1,000 total, which is very, very common. I could have even just bought in from the start for $1,000. But like Ray, I just brought my chips over. I had 600 chips. I just brought them over. Ended up adding on 400. I ended up cashing out for a profit of $241. The big problem I had in the PLO game was 2 different hands, and they were both bluffs. One of them I thought was very, very good timing against a guy named Smiley. Hi, Smiley, if you're watching this. And I was pretty sure, about 90 to 95% sure, he would fold whatever he had on a ridiculous looking flop. And the problem was someone else came over the top, and I was actually getting the odds to call. And at the moment, I did have the best hand, although his, because of the size of his wrap, he had better equity to win the hand. We looked it up afterwards. He had 66% to win. I had 34% to win. That was about a $1,200 pot. I ended up losing that one.
After his raise, it was like another $80 to call. I mean,
yeah, it was 140 more to call.
140. I mean, he was getting he was probably getting like 6 or 7 to 1. So there's no way he was folding.
Yeah, it was 140 to win about 1,200.
Hope to get extremely lucky with the turn on the river card, which didn't happen.
Yeah, so I made the call. It was more of a crying call. My hand was absolutely meant to be a bluff. It just so happened that the guy that went all in, he didn't have that much, so I called just because it was such a small raise, and I did actually have pocket queens, so who knows what's going to happen. And the other hand that I lost was a hand that I bet a very friendly woman. There were 4 cards to a straight in the board. I decided to bluff the turn, and when they both called me and a blank came on the river, I decided to bluff 250 on the river. And I think my turn bet was good, but I definitely think I should have shut down on the river. So I am happy to have profited overall, since I did make 1 good bluff, in my opinion, and 1 bad bluff for $250. I am a very, very active person, and I do bluff a lot, but I do think that I have a much tighter image on the PLO table. I don't know why, but it just seems like I do. So I do try to utilize that image and bluff a little bit more frequently in PLO. So yeah, we both have positive numbers to put up for the day. Like we said, we're putting in whatever we make for the whole day. So Ray's putting in a profit of 111. I'm putting in a profit of 241. We played 5-10 today, which was a not the most super interesting session, but we both won. Ray won what's today? July 25th, and Ray won 483.
Yeah, I won 483. It was a daytime 5-10 table, which means there really are no crazy players, which is sometimes good.
Yeah, everyone on the table was pretty decent.
We did have one guy at the table that
Played way too many hands.
Yeah, played way too many hands. He ended up buying in 4 times, and I feel like majority of the profit that was on the table came from his 4 buy-ins.
I benefited in one hand where I made a set of 8s and bet the flop, bet the turn, bet the river, and he call.
Yeah.
So
there was a king on the flop. At that time, I really thought that he probably had ace king, but after playing another 3 or 4 hours with him, he could have easily had king queen, and he just didn't want to.
He could have had a king with a worse kicker because he didn't raise pre-flop. I did, so
yeah.
He just called my raise. So I was thinking the best hand he could probably have was king queen.
Yeah, king
you know,
jack,
king with
and he
a
just
queen
didn't
kicker.
believe him. So it was a nice double up for him. I mean, he won almost probably like 900. There's a few extra people in the hand, so probably about $1,000 in that hand.
Yeah. So my total profit for the day playing 5-10 was 960 for the purposes of this challenge. So we are going to end the numbers right here at up 960, up 483. And I'm going to continue to play on my own, but I'm not going to count the next few hours towards the challenge just because Ray has to go to work. So guys, anything you want to add?
No. So the biggest thing is if you're a winning poker player long term and you go through a downturn, just take a couple days off. You don't want to continue to lose more money.
You didn't even take 12 hours off.
No, I did.
Did you take?
Before Fox was, yeah. It was 3 days I hadn't played. But
Did you really? Wow.
Take a few days off and regroup. Because, I mean, if you go in there with a negative state of mind...
Or do something different, like play PLO. PLO is a great game.
Thinking every time you flop a set you're going to lose, you're going to stop playing differently. So just take a couple days and then get right back into your regular game. And eventually, if you're a winning player long term, you're going to start winning again.
Yep.
So my happiness with poker right now, I mean, it was probably at almost exactly 0
Yep.
2 weeks ago.
Now?
And yeah, now I'm probably between, maybe a little more, probably like a 6 or a 7. Just
Okay.
kind of normal. It's what's supposed to happen. I do hope, since I got sucked on so often, I don't want to get into a big hand being far behind. But if it does happen, I really hope that I can suck out one of these times. It just doesn't seem to happen because I try not to get too much money in when I'm way behind. But if it does happen and I've set over set, boy, would I love to catch a 1-outer because...
Hey, one of the hands I played PLO against Smiley, I had kings with a flush draw. And he made me pay the price. He had a straight on the turn, and he put a big bet out. I thought he was either semi-bluffing, or I thought he was semi-bluffing. And I decided to call, and I got lucky on the river. So it happens. It's okay to suck out. So I will wrap it up here. It's almost 13 minutes. So guys, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for watching. And thanks for your continued interest in our poker channel.
All right,
have a great day,
a good
guys.
night.